There is a specific kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with sleep. It is the exhaustion of the cursor blinking on a blank page. It is the fatigue of staring at a dinner menu for 20 minutes, terrified that if you choose the pasta, you will mourn the loss of the steak. It is the paralyzed silence of sitting in your car in the driveway, engine off, keys in hand, unable to go inside, but unable to drive away. You are hovering. You are living your life in the subjunctive mood, in the realm of the could be, the might be, the what if. And the world looks at you, your friends, your colleagues, perhaps even your partner, and they see someone who is easygoing. They see someone who says, I'm fine with whatever, or you choose. They mistake your paralysis for flexibility. But you and I know the truth. We know that underneath that mask of easygoing neutrality, there is a war. You feel stuck in a hallway lined with 1,000 doors. You know, intellectually, that life is happening behind those doors. People are falling in love, building careers, making mistakes, ruining their lives, and redeeming them. They are living, but you are standing in the hallway because to walk through one door requires you to lock all the others. And the weight of that sacrifice, the terror of getting it wrong, is so heavy that you have decided, unconsciously, to simply stand still. You tell yourself you are waiting for clarity. You are waiting for a sign. You are waiting for the choice to feel right before you make it. But the clarity never comes. And the hallway is getting colder. Let's give a name to this state of being. In Jungian analysis, we might look at the archetype of the puer aeternus, the eternal child. But for you, I want to use a different image. I want to call this archetype the architect of nothing. The architect spends years designing the perfect life in their head. They draft the blueprints of who they could be. They simulate every possible outcome, but they never lay a single brick. Why? Why do you do this? It is not because you are lazy. In fact, your brain is burning more calories in your state of paralysis than most people do while running a marathon. The agony of ambivalence is not a character flaw. It is a survival mechanism. It is an adaptation. Let's look at the neuroscience. When you are faced with a decision, even a small one, like what to text back your amygdala, the ancient alarm bell of the brain activates. For most people, this alarm is a quiet buzz. For you, it is a siren. Somewhere along the line, perhaps in the quiet chaos of your childhood, you learned that doing was dangerous. Maybe you grew up in a home where the emotional weather was unpredictable. If you made a choice, if you expressed a need, picked a toy, or showed an emotion, you risked criticism or ridicule. Or, perhaps worse, you risked being ignored. So, you learned the art of pernification. You learned to scan the room. You learned to suppress your own impulses to gauge the emotional state of the giants around you. You learned that the safest place to be was small, quiet, and undecided. If you don't choose, you can't be wrong. If you don't commit, you can't fail. If you remain a potential, you can never be a disappointment. This is where the concept of the shadow comes in. Carl Jung described the shadow as the part of the unconscious mind consisting of repressed weaknesses, shortcomings, and instincts. For the ambivalent person, the shadow often holds your aggression. Now, I don't mean violence. I mean the biological energy required to impose your will on the world. To make a decision is an aggressive act. The word decision comes from the Latin decider, which literally means to cut off. To decide is to kill. It is to kill off options. It is to slice away the alternative futures. Because you have adapted to be the peacemaker, the good child, or the observer, you have disowned your own knife. You have relegated your aggression to the shadow. You are terrified that if you cut, if you choose, you will cause harm, or you will be harmed. So you enter a state of functional freeze. Your nervous system is locked in a high-tone dorsal vagal state. You are physically here, but psychically, you have checked out. You are preserving your energy for a catastrophe that isn't coming while missing the life that is already here. You are protecting a version of yourself that no longer needs protection. Here is the deeper, counterintuitive truth. And I need you to really hear this, even if it hurts. You think you are keeping your options open because you value freedom. You think that by not committing to a career, a partner, or a city, you are preserving your potential. But this is an illusion. Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher of anxiety, famously wrote about the dizziness of freedom. He understood that when we look down into the yawning abyss of infinite possibilities, we become dizzy, and in that dizziness, we grab hold of the nearest thing to keep from falling. For you, the thing you grab is ambivalence. Ambivalence is not freedom. It is a prison cell with invisible bars. The pivot is this: you are not afraid of making the wrong choice. You are afraid of the grief of the unchosen path. Every time you choose, you must mourn. If you choose to be an artist, you must mourn the death of the scientist you could have been. If you choose this partner, you must mourn the thrill of the first date with someone new. If you choose to stay, you mourn the departure. Your ambivalence is a refusal to grieve. You are hoarding potential because you cannot bear the finiteness of reality. You want to be everything, so you end up becoming nothing. There is a concept in alchemy and psychology called the conjunctio, the union of opposites. You are stuck because you are trying to resolve the tension of opposites before you act. You want the guarantee that option A is 100% good and option B is 100% bad. You want the data to make the decision for you. But life is rarely black and white. It is agonizingly gray. By refusing to choose, you are actually making a choice. You are choosing the slow decay of time. While you stand in the hallway debating which door to open, the building is aging. The paint is peeling. The people behind those doors are moving on. The tragedy of the architect of nothing is not that they built a bad structure. It is that they died with the blueprints in their hands. Your refusal to limit yourself is the ultimate limitation. So, how do we leave the hallway? I am not going to give you a 5-step productivity hack. I am not going to tell you to flip a coin or make a pros and cons list. You have done those things. They do not work because the problem is not logical, it is existential. The solution requires a fundamental shift in your identity. It requires an integration of the shadow. You must retrieve your knife. You must accept that to be human is to be limited. To be human is to be wrong. To be human is to hurt and be hurt. You have to stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel ready. The feeling of readiness is a luxury for people who are not paying attention. The rest of us just have the trembling in our hands and the beat of our hearts. Here is the practice. Practice small deaths. Start with the small things. The menu, the text message, the route home. Make a choice. Not because it is the right one, but because it is yours. And then, and this is the crucial part, when the doubt comes rushing in, when the voice in your head screams, "What if you made a mistake?" I want you to welcome that voice. Say to it, "Yes, maybe I did, and I will survive that too." You need to build a new neural pathway. A pathway that says you are resilient enough to handle the consequences of a bad decision. Currently, you don't trust yourself to handle a mess. You think that if you make a wrong turn, you will be destroyed. But look at you. You have survived 100% of your worst days. You are stronger than you think, but you are weaker than you pretend. Stop trying to be a god who sees all outcomes. Be a human who walks one path. Integration means accepting that you will always wonder what if. That longing for the unlived life will always be there, like a phantom limb. That is not a sign of failure. It is the price of admission for being alive. When you finally pick a door and walk through it, yes, the other doors will lock. The silence of the hallway will disappear, replaced by the noise and chaos of the room you chose. It might be messy in there. It might be loud. It might not be what you expected, but at least you will be inside. At least you will be real. Don't let your life be a rough draft. Pick up the pen, write the sentence, put the period at the end, and then write the next one.